I spent 3,000 minutes designing emails for CPG and Ecom brands across multiple industries. Here are the 10 best email designs I've ever launched. But yeah, so this is the 10th best email I've ever ran with them. So obviously it's a Mother's Day email. It's very promotional heavy. Question is, what's mom's favorite? Blah, 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 blah. Obviously one big mistake I've even noticed, and by the way, this is like one of the first big emails I made, but this is like months ago, but it is one of the best performing ones. So the reason why is because the main thing I want to point out in this entire email is this section right here. So as you can see, like every single thing, dark chocolate, peanut chocolate, white chocolate, each of these products are very clear and visual. They tell you exactly what they are, dark chocolate, peanut, and white chocolate, and they actually have a visual of it. When you're personally making emails, I think a lot of brands have some problems where like they'll make a certain email, and then sometimes they won't even have the product at all. They'll just say like, oh, buy now, and they have no visual representation of the brand, or more specifically of the product. They don't tell anything about the product, and you don't need too much. You just need like a little description of like, this is this flavor, this is that flavor, this and that. But I'll say like one of the main reasons for this design, aside from the promotion, because I'm just trying to stick with like the email itself, is that the products are very front and center. So just make sure that when you're making your email designs, make sure that your products are very clearly shown and that they're visual with a little description of each one. And just one mistake I made here is not having the CTA. Make sure you have a CTA for each one of them. So yeah, that's the first email. All right, so the 9th best performing email I've made for points is a text-based email. Now, just to give you some context, obviously you have technically you have three. You have text, SMS, but just for simplicity's sake, whenever you're sending an email campaign now, you have text-based emails and then you have design-based emails. And now design is kind of what I showed you with Mother's Day, where it's very visual and it's very designing. It's a very big design. And then text-based are just text, right? So you type it out either in Klaviyo or wherever. Really on Klaviyo or whatever your ESP is, your email service provider is. But yeah, you just type it out. So essentially, the best thing, the biggest reason why I want to say this email was one of the best performing ones, is because it's not common, right? This is for a Father's Day email, funny enough. And with this Father's Day email, I wanted to make sure that it didn't look like every other Father's Day email, right? So like a lot of the times, a lot of brands will make, it's good to take inspiration from other brands, but I feel when you're just literally copy pasting everything, it's kind of hard to differentiate yourself, especially if it's like a big holiday. So what I did with this one is I made it very kind of mysterious. Okay, Alexander, I'm scared of FD. Obviously, stands for Father's Day, but sometimes people just are even then, like they subconsciously know it's Father's Day or whatever, you can put Mother's Day, but they still want to read it. And then you go into I'm scared, I'm scared I'm going to forget it. I'm scared of meeting its expectations, and you go into each one of these things. And then finally, Father's Day, and I'm willing to bet a pretty penny you might be too. So the main thing with this one is, if you could take anything from this specific email, is don't make your emails just like every other email out in the marketplace. Make them fun, make them specific to your brand, but just don't make them like every other email people see, especially for big promotions or like holidays. So that's the second one. All right, so the seventh email. I know I said. All right, so okay, so the third email. All right, so the third email I'm going to show you, and the 7th best performing email I've sent out for points, is very short, and it's a nice little gift. But points, just a quick little note that points, blah blah blah, and then you have like the little features and benefits. The reason I'll say this is like one of the best performing ones we've had ever, is because it's very short, concise, and straight to the point. When a lot of brands, when they're making their emails, especially if it's one of these type of emails where it's very text based. Emails, and then obviously you have the little GIF. But especially when they're making text-based designs, especially, they'll make it very, very long, and they'll go into all the features and benefits. And by the way, this is a big problem for welcome flows. A lot of the times when you're first making your welcome flow, you just overload the customer with information when they just need like literally just a code, right? And then maybe like 2 or 3 facts about the brand. But again, for this one's one of the recent ones that we sent out. Just a quick little note. It's very straight to the point, and it's very concise. And then one big thing I will say is, let the thing that crushes in your brand crush. And what I mean by that is if you know your brand has this one specific feature or benefit, or that your product has one specific feature and benefit, use it. Don't shy away from it. Don't hide it. Don't think, oh, people are going to get overwhelmed by it. No, but I'll give it to you in this way. Okay, if 1,000 people see your email, I guarantee you not 1,000 people are going to buy it. Okay, it's good to give them some different perspectives of like why your product is good. But out of those 1,000 people, like people just want to see the same thing again and again, or at least they want to know that the strongest point in your brand or your product is going to be shown again and again and again, because it lets them know like, okay, this is legit. This is something I could actually use. So again, let the thing that crushes crush for you. In this case, we literally took like the best. Well, there you go. We took the best performing parts of points, right? 100% natural ingredients, all chocolates under 100 calories, vegan friendly, blah 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 blah, and it's very straight to the point. But yeah, when you're making emails, especially for the combination of design and text-based emails, just make sure they're very straight to the point, very clear and concise, and make sure the thing that crushes for your brand or product, let it crush. All right, so moving on to the next email is a May favorites email. Last call, May favorites, points, and then you have like the little different flavors: peanuts, white, dark chocolate, boom. Obviously, it's very bare bones, and this one's a bit of a curveball. I'll tell you why. So just to give you perspective, this is legitimately like probably the second or third email like I've ever sent out. Like this is like literally one of the first ones I've ever made. And the reason why I say like this is like one, and the reason why I think this is like one of the best performing ones, is because obviously up until that point, points didn't really have anybody setting up their email campaigns. They didn't really have anybody with their flows or email marketing in general. So what I did is at this point, like I said, I did like 2 emails before this. This was one of the first emails I really took like a lot of time and care into making. Obviously, it's very bare bones, but at least it doesn't have many like really any mistakes. Although it's very simple, it doesn't really have any big mistakes, and it has some, it's a cool little design in the back. And what I will say this is, if you could take anything from this email, is when you take your email marketing seriously, people will notice, and more importantly, people will notice immediately. So if you have a brand and you guys are sending, like, we're very inconsistent with your emails, or maybe sending like once or twice a month if anything, and you're not very consistent with your email designs, and you kind of have everything kind of be on the fly, the moment you take it seriously and say, okay, I'm either going to outsource it to somebody, I'm either going to do it on my own, I'm going to have somebody in-house, somebody out-house, be focused 100% with your emails, people in that list are going to notice immediately. And when people notice, they take you guys more seriously, they take your brand more seriously, but more importantly, they're more likely to buy, because they're seeing the brand awareness being built, and they see that trust and connection with the person actually buying, the customer. All right, so moving on to the 5th email, it's a Prime Day continues email design. So obviously, just to give you context, there's something called Amazon Prime Day, which you all know. But obviously, the day of Prime Day, we sent out an email very similar to this. It was very, very similar, and it was like, okay, Prime Day, it's here, 20% off or 15, whatever the deal was. But then the day after is when we sent this email, and this email, funny enough, did even better than the Amazon Prime Day, which is surprised me and surprised a lot of the team members. And we kind of started researching, and it's like, what we found out is that when you give people a sense of exclusivity, it makes people think like, and it's also like, I think it's like one of the biggest influencers of persuasion. But when you give people a sense of exclusivity, or that they're getting something that most people can't, it makes them purchase, or it makes them do the thing that you want to do more, because it's kind of that pushback, right? With Prime Day continues, right? 15% off site wide, exclusive to our email subscribers. They know, okay, they're running a Prime Day sale. Everybody in the whole world is running a Prime Day sale. Everybody knows this. They're probably sending out to their email list and their social media and their website and all this sort of stuff, which they obviously saw and they bought from. But when you give them a type of thing, and it makes it seem very personalized, number one, and number two, makes it seem very exclusive to the person seeing the email, it makes them think in their head like, oh, this is just meant for me. Like, they took out, and obviously, like, they took time out of their day to actually send me this email. It makes people think like, okay, obviously, like, they care about me, or at the very least, I'm the one getting this deal. Most people have it, and also just the convenience of like, okay, maybe I didn't buy on Pride Day. This is really the last day, might as well buy. So if you could take anything from this email, is to make sure you could throw in, very small points, or a lot of factors of exclusivity, or limited edition type of things to make people want to buy more. So if you could take anything from this email, is exclusivity. Okay, so this is the 6th email. Now, up until this point, a lot of the emails I've shown you are very like promotional based and heavy based, because they obviously do well. But this is one of the first ones I'm going to show you that it's a perfect example of VT, valuetainment. Now, obviously, with this email, we have the 3 points packages, and we have each of these flavors, and it's just to get people in the. It's very important that you get people into the which one do I want to buy, instead of do I want to buy mode, right? When I give them the option, right? Let's just say this was not here, the bread and this and that. Let's just say it was just just the product points is like shop now for each flavor. The fact that I have each, you know, banana bread and I have popcorn and I have chocolate cake, just 3 different options, gets people into thinking like, okay, how am I going to use this? Or what are some of the ways I'm going to use this? Oh, he used banana bread. I could probably make that with, you know, my mom's cheesecake. Or I could probably make this with, you know, movie theater popcorn. I could probably make this chocolate cake, you know, with, you know, school cake I get from lunch or something, right? But what that does is it gets people from thinking like, do I want to buy in the first place, to which one do I want to buy? And just to give you a very quick example of this being used live is, you know, they did an experiment where they took one vending machine and put it in a big mall, right? So they tracked how many people went past the vending machine, how many people saw it, and then how many people actually got a Coke bottle. In this case, it was a Coke vending machine. Then what they did is an hour or 2 later, they added a Pepsi vending machine, and the same thing happened. They tracked the amount of people walking through, they tracked the amount of people seeing the vending machines, and they obviously tracked the amount of people who bought. In total, the same amount of people from Coke actually bought around the same, but the difference was that since they had 2 options, they actually made double, if not more, more of the sales they would have made if they just had the Coke vending machine. Because they had the Coke and Pepsi vending machine, what happened when people walked through is, instead of people saying, oh, do I want a Coke or not? Do I want a Pepsi or not? They think, oh, Pepsi or Coke, which one do I like more? Okay, I like Pepsi more, might as well get a Pepsi. So same thing could be applied with your email marketing designs. Just get people in the do I want to buy mode to which one do I want to buy. So that's the 6th email. Moving on to the next one. This is very, very, very copywriting heavy. And obviously, like, you know, I think I'm just pretty skilled with this to say the least, because it was one of the best performing ones. But again, for, you know, very text-based emails, it's very, very important. Again, this one's like a 4th of July over one. You could take a look at it. It's kind of clever. But if you could take anything from this specific email design, is make sure that the emails you send out, especially when you're running a big promotion or sale, are very, very personalized. More importantly, they seem human, right? A lot of the times when people are writing emails, they'll have, instead of like, hey Alex, I'll get, you know, the email. Okay, so instead of having like, hey Alexander, it's Alex, the email guy from Points, I'll get straight to the point. Punt not intended. I got hired by the Hummii team. Blah blah blah. They'll make it like, hey Alexander, this is the founder of Points. Okay, our 4th of July sale just ended, but because I really, really like you, I'm gonna make sure that we extend the offer for one more day. Boom, boom, boom. That does work a lot of the times, but it's a very one time you could pull it off thing. When you do it again and again and again, and I tried it out, it doesn't work very, very well. And I'm gonna dive into that another email you're gonna see. But when you make it seem very personalized, and make it seem very personalized based on the brand you have and the culture and the vibe and tone you have with that brand, it makes people seem very, very, very open to like, okay, this is an actual email that they probably sent out, or they took time out of their day to make it, or more importantly, it just seems real. Let me actually, you know, purchase from it. Same thing with this one. This is Points is a very colorful thing. It's very poppy and everything like that. So I wanted to implement that with our copywriting, and obviously with the entire passage, it's very, very loose, right? You know, definitely not out of desperation. Here's a 20% code of 4th of July. You know, so although 4th of July is technically over, I'm betting in another university signed this piece of paper a day or 2 later, right? 4th of July. So if you could take anything from this email, is make your emails seem very personalized, but more importantly, make them seem human, aligned with the culture, tone, and vibe of your brand. So that's that. All right, so moving on to the next email. This is a very colorful one. It's like one of the, you know, it's like very standard for what we do. But just to give you perspective, this one clearly is more like a promotion. It's not really a promotion. I don't even think we have a code. Yeah, we don't even have a code. But with this one specifically, like obviously it's not very valuetainment heavy. I mean, it's very kind of pushing the sale. But what I will say, and this is like very, very important, if you could take anything from this entire episode or video, is this: make your non-promotional emails set up your promotional emails. And what I mean by that is, if I just keep sending, let's just say for example, like this one, you know, it was like the 7th best performing one, so it did very, very well, or 8th performing one. This one obviously did very well. And imagine I just kept sending these type of emails, right? Which I've done in the past, right? I kept sending like very promotional heavy emails or codes. And even if it doesn't have a code like this one, it's just very heavy on like the feature and product. It's very like product focused, opposed to just sending out very valuetainment or edutainment based emails where it talks about not the product itself, but like ways you could use the product, or just ways in general that, you know, if this is like a chocolate brand, I could say like the top 5 ways chocolate is made, or the top 5 facts you didn't know about the chocolate industry, or like, you know, the best ways to make your dessert 100 times better, tastier, and healthier, right? If I send those type of emails that resonates with people in a very positive way and very non-pushy. Even though I could still have the CTA in there, it makes people say like, oh shoot, this brand actually cares about me. But more importantly, they're providing value and education on the email designs, but more importantly on the brand and things surrounding the brand. So when they get one of these emails, they're like, okay, I already know the brand, I already know this, I never bought before, but it seems very legit. And then obviously you have I did not make this mistake or that mistake this time. I actually have the CTAs here. But when they're seeing this email, they're like, okay, this seems legit. Obviously I want to have it. It has the very points, features and benefits type of thing, the comparison chart, and then obviously might as well buy. So if you could take anything from this email, is make sure your promotional based emails are set up by your value statement based emails. Okay, so the second best performing email I've ever made, for specifically with points, is our MO1. So like this one's a bit different. This is like the first time you're like, okay, who is this weird looking character, right? I'll give you a quick little summary of what this email is very important, or what this email represents. When your brand goes all in with your brand, with your colors, with your tone, with your wording, with the brand itself in your email designs, people are number one going to notice, and people are number two, people are going to resonate with that 100 times more. Points, as I mentioned, is very colorful and funny, but what it also has is these little characters, right? It's the called little Hummiiverse, right? So it has Hank, the chickpea, and a bunch of different characters. Ace is like the chocolate one and all that, Giggles. And then obviously, when you're making your emails, whether it be, you're very, you have like a lot of cartoons or little animated characters, or even if your brand is very heavy on one specific thing, make sure that you go very deep into it. If your brand is very raw, like think of Liquid Death, where it's very, sometimes they swear in their emails. I've checked their emails out, and they're very like, I think one of their emails are subject like, "Are you dead?" right, for like a abandoned car email. If your brand is very tone wise, like very dark or very light or very is very something in a specific way, make sure you represent that in your emails and go all in. With this one, we used M&M. Who is the evil M&M? This is obviously it's not made up, because it actually is in their website and everything, but leader of Sugar Corp, M&M is the evil leader of Sugar Corp, blah blah blah, loves processed crap, hates healthy candy, and then he fears this man. Does shout out Tyler. But specifically with this email, like I went all in with the actual Hummiiverse. So with your specific emails, if you have like a very edgy type of company or very edgy type of things in your website and your ads and all your designs, make sure that you go moving forth with your emails, make them match that. And especially what that also helps, last thing to end it off with, is it makes it 100 times, not 100 times, but it makes it a lot easier for people to convert into actual customers when they go from your emails to your websites, because it has the continuity between email designs, that tone and that vibe with your website. So if I could say anything from this email, is make sure that you go all in with your brand's vibe, tone, and culture. So this is the best performing email I've ever made with points. Yeah. It's the shortest email I've ever wrote for any brand, and it's literally just this. I'll even read it. Hey Alexander, so our team kind of messed up Mother's Day. Our site manager forgot to turn off our Mother's Day promo code. Usually we stop promoting big discounts in cases like this, but we've been looking at your past engagements, and since you've been such a big fan of points, I wanted to personally remind you, of our little oops. Code title is 20 off. For 20% off any points purchase, take 20% off points. Keep it on the low though, we're not promoting this code publicly. Thanks again, Alexander, Tyler, founder of Points. PS, click here for a big surprise. I think this is quite obvious. When you're making your emails, when you're making your text-based emails, if you can make it as personal and as human as you could possibly make it, go for it. This is right after Mother's Day. Just to give you context, obviously Mother's Day just happened. We send this like 2 or 3 days later. Since this email is super personalized, not even in the sense like, oh, I know your favorite color, I know this, I know that. It seems very natural. It's like, okay, listen, like, it comes from Tyler, right, the actual founder of Points. Hey, man, like, we've been looking at your past engagements, personalized. Just want to let you know, like, we obviously know that you're a big fan of Points, all this. I just wanted to remind you of our little oops, right? Code title is 20 off. They can take 20% off points. What this does is puts in the people's brain, obviously, like, dude, this is actually a real email. Since it's very another big thing is that since it's very short, it's even more believable. And also the timeline. We didn't send this like right after Mother's Day. We did it like 2 or 3 days after. Number one and number two, obviously, it's short. And number three, obviously, it's personalized. It looks very personal. We've been looking at your past engagements, right? And since you're such a big fan of Points, I obviously want to remind you a little oops. This is so important. When you're making emails, especially when it's like a very big promotion or sale or discount thing going on for like Black Friday, just make sure you can make it as personalized as possible. Make it seem real, right? Even if even if you're not that good with copywriting, get a copywriter, tell them what you want to, convey in that email, and let them write it in a way that makes it seem super personalized. This is huge. My light went off, but this is huge. Okay, just make sure that your emails are like super personalized and they look real. Okay, this looks real. It looks like a real human made it. And when you're making your emails, don't go on chat. I mean, I'm not saying don't go on ChatGPT, but after you go on ChatGPT, write it down. Make a little spelling errors. You don't even have to make spelling errors, but just make sure you have little things that make it seem very personalized, make it seem very human. So I know I kind of ran it on about that, but just this is like super big, especially when you're making email designs for text-based emails. And I would highly suggest this moving on forward. So that is our best performing email for points. Hope you learned a thing or two about this specific email. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Those were the top 10 best performing emails I've ever sent out with points. I'm guessing you could take a bet at what we offer. So all that information is going to be in the description, ixmedia.biz. You can go check it out. But anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one. Alexander Jimenez, founder and CEO of ixmedia.biz. Peace!